Conversations with different philanthropists and the causes they support. Joining us in Street Science, we have Anu Aga, the director of Thermax, Shaheen Mistry, founder and CEO for Teach for India, and Vandana Goyal, CEO of Akanksha, is joining me as well, sitting right next to me. Afternoon, ladies. Thanks very much for joining in and taking time from your schedule to talk to us. Mrs. Aga, I'm going to start with you. You're very actively involved in Teach for India as well as the entire philanthropy process. For Teach for India in specific, how has the success been? What has been the change that you've seen in terms of enrollments, etc., that has started from the inception?
I'm equally involved in Akanksha and Teach for India because they both represent the education sector, and I think nothing can happen unless a child has quality education. There are many problems. There is malnourishment. There are many. But without education, there is no hope for the child to come out of poverty. Now, I find you asked me about Teach for India. We started 5 years ago, and we started it in Mumbai and Pune. Today, we have spread to 7 cities, and the number of applicants we get to become fellows has increased several times. I'll let Shaheen give you the figures. And we study the impact we have on our students, and that has also improved. This is a slow process. We cannot have dramatic changes, but over time we have seen that it is possible. To give you an example, this year 4 of our students have joined World College, 2 in Mahendra outside Pune, 1 in Italy, and 1 in Armenia. Now this is a tough place to get in. 6 of our Akanksha children have got full scholarship at Azim Premji Institute. Again, a great achievement. So this is what I would say is the achievement of both these organizations.
Oh, okay. Shaheen, I'm asking you to join into the conversation. Can you tell us how the scale-up of Teach for India has been, and how much more do you, for example, would like to scale up? How many volunteers do you already have in terms of people who teach for those 2 years and take a break maybe from their corporate jobs? And how much interest have you seen in the past 5 years?
Sure. So I think we've grown. We started in 2009 with 87 fellows. We're at 1,100 fellows now. So that's pretty significant growth. In addition to that, we have 1,000 alumni who have graduated post the 2 years and are working across the country for educational equity, which is a big part of our model. I think the most significant thing really about Teach for India is the idea of getting to all children in the country through catalyzing leadership committed to that goal. So today we have alumni working across school leadership, policy, teacher training, staying in the classrooms, but all with sort of a singularity of purpose to get an excellent education to all children.
Okay. Vandana Goyal, the CEO of Akanksha, also joins in. And just to apprise our viewers, Shaheen, in fact, is the founder of Akanksha, and Vandana has been the CEO for the past 6 years. Vandana, Akanksha teaches kids, and I've had the privilege of working with Akanksha as a mentor myself. How do you expect, or how would you tell people who work in corporate jobs or who are industrialists to get involved in Akanksha? What's the best way?
I think the first thing we tell people to do is to come visit our schools, our centers, our programs, because when they come into our classrooms, usually the first thing I hear people say is, I can't believe these kids speak English so well, or I can't believe how confident they are, or I can't believe that what they're doing is as similar as to what my own child is doing. And it's that little spark of these kids are exactly the same as any other child, and they have the same potential, they have the same dreams. It's that spark that really makes people believe in our work, and I think you would know that from your experience as a volunteer yourself. So really, by coming to visit and by seeing the impact in the classrooms on the ground. I think that speaks for our work in itself. And then when our mentors, our volunteers, our teachers see our students graduate from high school, 100% of our students passed the SSC exam. 93% of the students in our first school achieved a first class or a distinction, going on to colleges like Anu said, and really becoming wonderful human beings, I think, at the same time. So really thinking about the values aspect of the work as well. But I think that first visit, and then thinking about, we have so many of our donors who send their children to volunteer in our classrooms over the summer or during their breaks. And I think that is a very transformative experience, not just for our students, but for our donors and our volunteers themselves and their families.
Okay, ladies, good morning. It's it's really a privilege to talk to all of you this morning. Shaheen, the next question that comes to my mind is that what about the scalability to some of the smaller towns, to the villages? What's the target in terms of timeline to maybe expand yourself in some of these smaller cities, smaller towns, which would be the necessity going forward?
Yeah. So while the fellowship is urban right now, and we place only in government and low-income private English schools, so it's a very a specific area, the alumni movement and our alumni out there are already spreading across rural India, working in vernacular medium as well. I think we're at a very interesting inflection point at Teach for India where we're thinking about the next 5 years now, and the question you're asking is very much a question we're asking ourselves. How can we increase diversity and take slow and steady steps, continuing to have the impact that we're having in more difficult environments?
Can I also add something, please?
Sure, go ahead, Mrs. Aga.
We will never be able to reach the whole of India in rural tribal areas, but through a little bit of sample, we will know what needs to change. And we want to bring systemic change in the way teachers teach throughout India, the way training is done to the teachers. So unless we bring the systemic change, which may take 15, 20 years, but that is what we are working towards, not towards reaching out every single child in India.
Okay. Mrs. Aga, if you had to point out 3 of the main things that you would like corporate India to possibly contribute, maybe in terms of resources, maybe in terms of finance, what would the 3 things be in terms of request for you to be able to scale up Teach for India as well as Akanksha even more than they already have?
The first thing I would request is financial help. We attract the best of people and we need to pay them well. Unfortunately, in India, there is a belief that if you work for the NGO sector, you must do it either voluntarily or through sacrifice, forgetting they have their own families to look after and they need a decent salary. So we want people to understand this and contribute financially. Secondly, volunteering. We would love people to be mentors to our children. I'll give you an example. My own CEO was a mentor to an Akanksha student, and he passed his chartered accountancy at first attempt, which is quite a wonderful achievement. So effective mentors is what we would very much like people to have. Another thing we would very much appreciate is giving us office space in different cities. This is becoming such an expensive proposition. So if corporates can give some space, it would be wonderful. So these are some of the things I can think of.
And can I just add one thing? I think that one of the biggest lessons on the journey has been that you come into this work thinking that you're going to give a lot. and you realize how much you get back. And I think what we've seen with our partners and from Anu to others is it really is a partnership that changes your life, this work. And so that would be my message, and I think it's the general message of the Joy of Giving Week as well, that do this, yes, because you have something to give and contribute, but because you're going to get back so much from truly engaging with the mission.
That's right. And as Vandana said, come and visit us, come and see our classrooms. We have opportunity for people to teach on a day just to understand what teaching is like. So writing out a check is relatively easy, but join us in many ways and you'll get things tenfold than what you give. Okay. That's what Shaheen says, and I agree.
All right, Mrs. Aga, Shaheen as well as Vandana, thank you very much for joining